Howdy YouTube, welcome back to the channel for part 2 of the paint series, and today is all about prepping these panels, such as sanding, stripping the paint, body filler, and stuff like that. So we're going to get into it with these parts right here that I have as part of my body kit and or bumper situation. We're going to be stripping the paint on these parts specifically today because it is in the beginning of May and it's still really humid out from all this rain, so we can't really strip any of the metal parts just yet, because if you do, you have to immediately prime it or it'll get rusty. So we're not stripping any of the metal parts today. We'll be stripping these parts, which are made out of fiberglass. So we can go all the way with these guys today by stripping the paint, so that's a good start. This is the stripper that I have. If you can find the aircraft one without this green label on it, I think that is the best one you can find. It's just they will not ship it to your house because of the chemicals in it. So I found this at AutoZone and I think it was almost like $80. So hopefully that does the trick. I'm really hoping that this will remove all of our paint today. If you haven't seen on my TikTok, which I'll list down below, I posted on my TikTok of just me swiping my finger across the bumper and the paint literally flaked off. So that is basically the state of this car's paint. So we're just going to strip all the panels with this. Hopefully we can just start fresh with a fresh base. So let's get rockin' and rolling. Okay, I have the plastic and the parts laying on the table ready to be applied with that stuff. So I'm going to grab a scuffing pad and I'm just going to scuff them really quick because I don't really know. I don't think I need to, just might be an extra precaution, but I'll do that first and then we'll get to applying the remover. On second thought, I don't really feel like doing that. So this is what we have for supplies. So these are what I'm going to be using to apply the remover with. We have the remover itself, which we went over, and just some gloves, and then this plastic. This wind, according to the weather channel, it's supposed to stop in about 30 minutes. So I don't know if I should wait to apply it or just go for it. I think I should just go for it. I don't know. Okay, gloved up. I think we just gotta shake this well. Okay, so sorry I had to cut the film for a second. The wind was blowing crazy. So I just set up all of these parts and the bumper, as you can see, is already working, which is really, really cool. So once the rest is finished after about 45 minutes, which we have the side skirts baking here in this plastic, along with the taillight housing. The other taillight housing is down there. So we're gonna let this sit for probably another 30-ish minutes, come back, and then we're gonna rinse them, clean them off, and get sanding to them. Okay, so I applied 2 to 3 more coats, and I also laid them out on plastic so I can power wash them. So here are the panels laid out. It looks to be that the remover is working after a couple of layers. We'll let this sit for maybe another 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll get power washing the paint that's peeling off, and then the rest we'll have to sand. These side skirts are doing really well after having a second to third coat on them, so I think it's almost about ready. These guys are having a little bit more hard time, and only like half of this diffuser is really peeling, like that right there. So we'll see what happens. I have my fingers crossed that most of it will come off. Okay, we are gonna start spraying off this paint remover and the paint, so let's see what happens. And I just do this. Well, that seemed to work pretty well for the most part, so let's keep going. So here we are after the first round of trying to get all this off. I do have some scrubbing pads. I think I'm going to scrub it first and then do another spray down, but kind of shocked it wasn't a little bit more. These like didn't do any damage, so we'll get the scrubbing pad and try that. Okay, I got the rear bumper cooking right now. I honestly might have to do a second layer, but I moved all of these panels in the sun to dry because I was debating whether or not I should do a second layer, and my boyfriend told me that it's peeling again, even though, yeah, look at that. So I'm not really sure how this stuff works, but I think I don't think I'll do another layer of paint stripper. I think I'll just start sanding it, to be honest. I don't think I'm gonna waste my time doing another layer. Yeah, look at that. That's nice. So hopefully it'll make it easier to sand, but I'm gonna put one more layer of paint stripper on the bumper and then hose it down. Well, it's been like a week or two since I last did that paint strip, which I guess I didn't read the directions fully, because I was supposed to sand it before applying that stuff. But I also managed to hurt my back at the gym, so I haven't really been able to do much of anything and risk of hurting it more. Today, we are going to be sanding those parts and finishing that, just so we can get that out of the way, so when it comes to sanding the metal body parts on the car, I don't really have to worry about it. I got my extension cord, and I'm gonna hook up my orbital sander and get started. Now, I know I didn't mention this in part one, but you are gonna obviously need a sander. I think that's pretty obvious when you're doing a paint project. I bought this one with a cord attached to it just because I hate the battery powered ones, which there's one right here. They just like always seem to run out of battery like super quick. So I got this one so I could just keep on sanding. And it is also like wicked humid out, so I don't really think I want to set up my little sanding station outside today. But something we did get last weekend that I filmed on my TikTok. We finally got our compressor. This thing is bitchin', but it was a bitch to get into the trailer and get home. We had to take this whole top part off, all the motor and everything on top, just to fit it inside our trailer. This is the 80-gallon tank. We decided to go for this because it'll be enough for my project, and he has air tools that he wants to use. So we'll never have to upgrade again with this one, so this is what we got. So I have my sandpaper all laid out. This kit that I got goes from 60 to all the way to like 3,000 or something crazy like that, but we obviously won't go that high today. I think we might finish with 600, but I don't think we're gonna start at 60 just because it's super grainy. I think we should start at maybe 240 or 400. Maybe start with this just because all of our pieces got really crusty like that, and most of these panels turned like super yellow. So these guys turned really yellow, even though I like washed all of them. But we're gonna start with these, probably 240, and see what happens.
Remember to always wear protection. I mean, this is actually pretty easy to breathe in, surprisingly, so let's do it. So it looks like it's working pretty good. Just trying to get it down as much as we can. It looks like it's just gonna go to the primer. This valley is gonna be really hard to get to, but we'll try our best. Let's keep going.
That took like an embarrassing amount of time to just do one. I did only one side skirt and it took me, I think, almost 2 hours. So this is what it looks like. So it's all gray except for the really hard corners I couldn't really get. My boyfriend is picking me up some body filler just because we cut through some the side skirt. So this little hole right here, some corners. So we'll get some body filler and do that, but not too bad for the first one. Now I'm gonna do this guy. And to do that side skirt, I went through 4 240 grit. So I went through 4 of these and 120 grit. And this is what I honestly finished with because it was just taking way too long. So I think I'm just gonna do this one on the next side skirt and see what happens. Well, I took a little snack break, but now both side skirts are done to the best of my ability. And now it's time to move on to the rest of the components for the day. I have my bumper here, and I'm also, before I work on the bumper, I'm gonna work on the taillight housings next. But this is what the side skirts are looking like. Nice and gray. But it was really hard to get into this ridges here with the rotary, so I'm gonna have to do those by hand. But they're looking pretty good. When I'm done sanding these next couple of parts, I probably will body fill some of the holes that I created or discovered with the rest of all the parts that I'm going to sand. So that way tomorrow I can finish sanding it by hand and not with the rotary. So let's finish it up. So it is the next day. I finished off yesterday starting the bumper. It's like maybe 50% done, but I think with my side skirts, with the remaining paint that's on there, I'll try stripping the paint on that again, just to get that little bit of residue off. I know that I didn't really fully read the directions, so now that it is partially sanded, it should come right off. I'm crossing my fingers, honestly. So let's get the paint remover on and then we can continue sanding this bumper. This is the current state of the bumper. Pretty much just the sides need to be done. This stuff is like adhesive to keep this diffuser attached on this bumper. So it was really hard to get off. There's still some right here, so I have to work around it for now until I can get it off. So my goal is to not sand as much as possible by hand. I hate sanding, and especially after this whole project, I'm probably never going to want to pick up any sort of sanding ever again. This is so strong. So I'm stopping here for the weekend. The bumper is almost done. I just got these really annoying crevices to get, but this is what it's looking like, and then I can get started on the diffuser. I did hurt my back at the gym, so I don't think I'm going to really be going this week again. So one of these days after work, I'll probably pick up the camera and continue the bumper because I really got to get this thing going. But this is the state of the bumper at this point, and I'm going to finish it off with a little bit of classic elbow grease wet sanding. And I just need to get this white here in the ridge line and these corners. I still got to figure out what to do with this body glue adhesive, and it's on both sides, but I'm pretty confident I can knock most of it out with wet sanding. It just takes forever, which is why I didn't want to do it in the first place. So I just finished up getting all this white out of this crevice right here, but I'm going to set this side to dry, and I'm going to have to, I don't even know how to take this off. I just poured some acetone on it and it's not budging like somebody mentioned on here, so I'm sorry, it didn't really work for me. So I'm just honestly going to have to go in with either a knife, or I'm going to have to try and sand it off with maybe the 60 grit sandpaper and see if that does something. But for now, I'm going to set this aside and work on the diffuser in the meantime. Now, I know I look crazy, but I finished half of the diffuser, and it's probably like the easiest piece that I've worked on so far. So that's good news. So this is what it looks like half done. Now it is body kit, so it is going to look just like the side skirts, this nice gray. I do got to get into these corners and these weird edges by wet sanding, which is no biggie, but everything else is gray and ready to go. I literally just have to do this third and the diffuser is pretty much all set. But I do have to body fill some pieces on this bad boy. Just like little places here and there. The corners, of course, are cracked, but I think this came out really good. Well, it is now a couple of days later from where I left off from the video, and I finally got all these body panel pieces done, besides for the major ones on the car. Now that they're all done, they need to be body filled with this. I just got some generic body filler from Bondo. Now we're just gonna fill in some small cracks and things that happened in the corners before and or after I was sanding, so this is the next step. Now don't judge me, I'm actually gonna honestly like mix this stuff with my hand because I don't have anything else. Okay, that should be plenty. Now just gonna mix this up real good. Okay, and now we're just gonna go fill these body parts. Okay, I have applied Bondo wherever there were holes in this body kit. It's not even like the actual OEM body parts that needed to be done. It's all of the body kit stuff. So I did my best to be as smooth as possible, but of course we're still going to need to do some sanding. This is where the exhaust pipe sits, so this had a big crack in it, so we're filling that and just waiting for that to dry. And I'm gonna honestly see if I can get these mirrors off the car and work on those. Okay, now I think it's been over a week later, but I finally got the trunk door finished all the way down to bare metal, because it turns out I think there was like 12 layers of paint on this panel. So me adding another like 6 would do this panel no good. So going down to bare metal was the best option, and now we have to move on to the next pieces. And of course, the next pieces is the most expensive part of this whole project, which is our carbon fiber pieces. Now we have my GTR styled Cybon carbon hood here. We have the GTR styled fenders. We have a carbon wing, but this is just fiberglass, but it's still something I gotta think about. But moving on to the carbon, I'm not going to use the orbital sander, absolutely not. I'm going to go in with a wet sanding pad and do this by hand, all the carbon parts, so just to make sure I don't go fully down to the actual carbon. Now I decided to paint some of these carbon parts, well, all of them, and what we're going to attempt to do, while also being my first time painting a car, we're going to actually do a fade on all the parts pretty much. So it's going to go from white, which is what we're painting the car, down to carbon fiber. So that's the plan, and I really hope it works out. All right, so I finished round 1 with this thing. As you can see, there are some of the clear spots that I missed, so I'll go back and resand them. But I ended up wet sanding it, of course, with 800 grit sandpaper. So you can do 1,000, but this is a slightly more aggressive. But use 1,000 if you're worried about your carbon fiber being too thin of a layer with the clear coat. But I'm using 800. Here is the fender right now, so we're still working on this guy. I'm going to wait for it to fully dry to see what I missed. In the meantime, I'm going to move on to the rest of the carbon fiber parts, and I will see you when we finally move on to the body down there. All right, now it is a few days later and we have the Skyline pushed out of the garage because we are now ready to sand the rest of the body. Before we even get into sanding, I'm gonna have to mask up some areas like the whole engine bay, the windows and stuff with just some tape or plastic so we don't ruin anything, even the trunk. So let's mask this up first. Well, I did the best that I could masking it as best I could. I just went around all the windows and stuff to just give myself a guide as to where I was going, but I'm probably not even gonna get onto either of these sides. I'm gonna start with the roof and work my way down. So we'll see what the roof looks like. I'm really hoping it's not gonna have all those layers like the trunk panel did, so we'll see how much I'll get done with this. I just really want to get all the parts that are like flaking off, so getting in here will be interesting. So let's get started. All right, so we did reach metal on the roof. Now, like I mentioned, I was a little paranoid about, you know, it having like 12 layers on the rest of the body, which it looks like it doesn't clearly. It looks like the last paint job was white and the newest paint job was white. So I think the rest of the body is going to be actually pretty easy. I think I've been sanding this for about 20-30 minutes. So I'll probably get the rest of the roof done today and move on to everything else in a bit, probably when I get back from vacation, because I am going to Nashville. So I'll take off the mirrors, the door handles and stuff like that when I get back. Hopefully when I do get back that the weather will be nice enough for us to actually paint the car. So I'll see you when we get to this. Well, hey guys, since the last time I updated you on the Skyline sanding project, it was about a month ago. So big updates though, we're just about finished sanding the car actually, and we removed, you know, all the doors. We removed like the handles, the mirrors, and now we're finally ready to get down to the last bit. And if you can tell, they obviously didn't take off the door handles the last time this car was painted, so I'm glad that we're doing obviously a better job than last time, because if you notice here, this is where the mirror was, and it like literally bubbled up, like it just, I don't know if you can see that, but it looks so bad. It just looks so bad. So now I'm just gonna finish up these handle areas and then we can move to the other side, and then I will see you guys once this car is done. Okay, the driver's side is now complete with my orbital sander, but I'm gonna go in with a hand sander to do these really fine edges and whatnot. I don't know if you can see that it's still shiny here, but here's that place that caused the most trouble. So we had to go down a little bit further just to make sure everything is smooth in unison. It doesn't hurt to go over the entire panel with your hand to make sure no spots were missed, and if there's any dents or anything that you have to body fill, now would be the time to check that. But the entire body of this car is actually pretty solid. So the only thing that we have to do to really fine tune this thing is get these window trim pieces out, and because you can see that it's really close to the edge where it's chipping, so we want to really get in there and sand it. But as of right now, this entire side is complete for the most part, so now we're going to go to the other side. All right, the time has come. The body is finally finished. I did get this window trim off and was able to sand all that, so I took all of the old plastic off, threw it out because we're gonna have to re-tape it anyway. But tonight, since we only have like 4 or 5 days left until paint day, or the supposed paint day, I'm gonna go with the self-etching primer for the trunk lid and then move on to the roof another day. But I have to start getting things primed because we have to sand them on Friday or Thursday. So I want to give them enough time. So we're going to go ahead with the Eastwood Self Etching Primer and we'll get this done. You only want to use Self Etching Primer on bare metal and nothing else. So that's why we're doing this now. All right, the trunk door is finally self-etched with 2 layers of self-etching spray, and I waited 15 minutes between each coat. Now, it's said to apply light, so you might see some metal underneath, but I'm gonna wait another 30 minutes to then actually do primer. So I'm actually also doing the side skirts and the taillight housings as well, but this is pretty much the concept. All right, so we have the trunk self-etched and primed. The side skirts are primed, and so are the taillight housings, which are outside, but I have to go get them. But so far, so good. Of course, there's gonna be some things in the paint, but we have to sand this down anyway, so I'm not worried about it at all. So tomorrow, we're gonna have to tackle the rear diffuser and bumper and have to move on to the actual body of the car. But it's a good start for right now. I'm happy with it. So let's keep it going. Well, some stuff was bound to go wrong and it happened. So I'm sure those that have painted cars before saw that primer and was like, girl, that is not how primer is supposed to look. And you're absolutely right. We figured we're gonna have to scuff it down and repaint it, but it's a good thing that we caught it when we did, because I had to pick up more primer anyway, and the primer that I already painted was in gray, and the new primer that I got is white. So you don't want to have 2 different colored primers because the paint will actually look different. So I'm gonna scuff them down anyway. At least we noticed now before we got too far, but still, I was pretty upset about it, but this whole thing is a learning experience, so we're just gonna keep going. All right, I've sanded it all down to where it's smooth. Now we're gonna try this again with the white primer. This is what I've got. So now I'm just gonna clean it with this degreaser. Now when you're painting a car, you always wanna wear gloves, because the whole point of this degreasing process is not to add more grease from like your fingers or anything else. So from this point forward, wear gloves. So let's get this washed down. Okay, gloves are off. I'm not gonna touch this panel, but you can see the wet spots right here. We're just gonna let this sit for a little bit longer, and then once we're ready, we'll glove up again and use the Sprayway glass cleaner. You want a water-based cleaner, and what you're gonna do is swipe in one direction. Now I just touched this with a non-gloved hand, so I'm gonna go get a new one. But that's what we're gonna do from here, and then we'll go in with that primer. Okay, I laid down the first layer of white primer and it's already looking much better than last time. So we're gonna let this sit for 15 minutes and go in with the second coat and pray it comes out good. We're gonna have to sand it down anyway before the actual paint job, but I'm confident more this time. All right, just finished laying down the second coat and already looks a million times better than the gray primer. So we're gonna let this sit. Careful not to touch it. This came out really good, so now all I have to do is just sand the rear diffuser again, taillight housings, and side skirts, and then we can make it look just like this. All right, it is the next day, and I have now completed the taillight housings for a second time. Now, it's obviously looking much better than the first time with the gray primer, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm going to spare you guys all the misery and do all the parts, and I'll see you when it's done. All right, y'all, it is 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, which is the day before our expected paint date. Now, the roof, I just finished self-etching primer after sanding it because it had some surface rust, which I included a little video of that. So I'm gonna let this flash off. As you can see, there is some flash off here, but not at the edges yet. So we'll do that and then do a second coat. And then I'll go to work today, let this dry, and then prime it later. As of right now, the rest of the car is primed. It'll be sanded later when I get home. But I just wanted this to be self-etched primed so we can go ahead and then primer it after. So I'll see you then. Holy crap, guys. The car is finally primed, sanded and ready to go for tomorrow. And this will conclude part 2 of the paint series. I mean, couldn't have gone any better than it did. Of course, we ran into hiccups this entire process, but you guys are a part of it. So if you stuck with me this whole time, I do appreciate you staying. So I'm gonna wrap up this video and conclude part 2 and move on to part 3, which is starting tomorrow morning. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm anxious as hell, but we're gonna get it done. So I will see you guys in part 3.